and welcome to the OklaRoots Block Party. Welcome to your final block. I'm so excited for you, but I'm also so sad that this block party is coming to an end. You know, thinking back to 12 months ago, whenever I got my mom to go out to a part of the neighborhood with me and film me while I carried around a sewing machine like a boombox, I could have never have guessed what this year would have been. I mean, we talk about this throughout almost every video. This quilt tells a story. A quilt tells a story. A year-long quilt-along tells a story. And this might be one of the craziest stories of all of our lives. I mean, the entire world has been impacted in the most unexpected and unimaginable ways over the last 12 months. And we were documenting it. I mean, we documented every single month with our quilt blocks. So I hope that this quilt is a treasure for you. I know for me it is. It is going to be probably the quilt that I am buried with, honestly, in the very end of my life. So thank you sincerely so much for participating in this quilt along. I can't tell you how much this means to me. If you followed along over on Instagram, you probably know my story of trying to create quilt patterns years ago. I couldn't get a lot of eyes on them. I really felt like this just wasn't what I was meant to do. You all have allowed me to create some fun patterns, and your excitement for them have kept me inspired and excited, and it's just been the biggest confidence boost. You know, everything happens for a reason. Timing doesn't always go your way at some points, and you don't understand why, and then you kind of see later why. I think that this all has played into that. So, anyways, let's talk about block 12. Now, this was the block I was going to give you today. This block is so cool. Honestly, I love this block, but it is very challenging. There are a lot of pieces. It is the most challenging block of the entire block party. And I was saving it for last because, you know, I just want to save the hardest for last. But I've decided this is not going to be our block this month. If you still want to make this, you are more than welcome to. I will have this over on the website as a bonus block, and the pattern will be there kind of showing you how to piece it all together. But this is not going to be our block. Instead, I decided we needed a block that was just a little bit easier and a little bit more on theme with February, which if you're watching this in the 12th month of the Quilt Block Party live, then this is February. So you guys, let's make a heart. Let's just make a heart. Why not? This is easy. It is fun. Again, let it be part of your story. So you can see in this one here, I use this adorable fabric, which I absolutely love. It shows kids coming together. It means a lot to me personally. So this is one version where we did just pretty much one big panel in the center here and then smaller panels on the top and the bottom. You could also mix up this block and make it very scrappy. So for this other version here, I just took a bunch of strips of fabric. They were all pink and they were all 2.5 inches tall and then about 11 inches wide. And I sewed them up all together, and then I cut out this main piece here using the pattern piece in the pattern today. So you can make this block more of a solid kind of, you know, big piece with fewer fabric pieces, or you can make it super scrappy. Just sew together a bunch of your scraps from your other blocks, use the pattern piece, cut it out, and then make your heart. I love this. In today's tutorial, I'll be going over the one piece version just to show you, but I do encourage you to mix it up. So if you're not already a subscriber to the OklaRoots YouTube channel, please consider clicking subscribe down below. If at any point you like this video, please give it a like. Any questions, comments, anything at all, leave them down in the comment section. You guys, this isn't the last video for the OklaRoots Block Party. We still got to put the whole thing together, right? So we're going to have another video showing you how to make the quilt top. Then we'll have another video showing you how to make the quilt sandwich and also how to do a little bit of machine quilting on it. I'll throw in there a couple tips to doing hand quilting. I'm not going to hand quilt the whole thing because we just don't have time for that, but I will show you how we can hand quilt just some spots of it and then machine quilt it as well. And then the final video will be showing you how to bind the quilt. There are lots of different ways to do backing, binding. There's lots of things. I will show you how I'm doing my quilt, but I will also discuss with you how I've done it in other quilts and kind of give you some tips and tricks for that as well. All right, guys, let's get started. So as you can see, this block can be made using just 2 colors, which is what we're going to be doing today, or you can make this super scrappy. I really encourage you, at least for one of them, just put a bunch of scraps together and then cut out the pattern pieces. So I have pattern pieces for all of these today. However, you don't actually have to use the pattern pieces. You can use squares and rectangles for all of this as well. In the pattern, I will have the measurements for each one of these as a square or rectangle if you wanted to do that. So for example, you could cut out this main center unit right here as a 10.5 inch by 8.5 inch rectangle. And then for these D pieces down here, you can cut those out at 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So they'll just match up on these bottom corners, and then you'll draw a diagonal line and sew along that diagonal line and then press open your block, just like that. This is, if you've done it before, you know what I'm talking about. If you guys want to see how to do that, leave a comment down below. Maybe I'll do a second version of this video to show you. But it's pretty simple. However, you can also just print off all of your pattern pieces, especially if you have like a print with a character or an image on it that you really want to highlight, then maybe the pattern piece would work better for you, so you can just get it all centered up. So pattern piece A is our center main panel. Pattern piece B are the 2 top bumps for the heart. Pattern piece C are our small triangular corners, and pattern piece D are our larger bottom triangular corners. And then pattern piece E is just this center triangle right here to put it all together. So let's separate this into 2 sections for now, the top strip and then just the bottom chunk. And on the bottom, we're going to take one of our D units and lay it right sides together along this bottom angled edge of our A unit. And if you use pattern pieces here, you should see those little notches, and the notches should all line up just perfectly. Grab your pins and just pin these together. Okay, you can set this to the side for just a moment. Now let's grab one of your pattern piece B's and one of your pattern piece C's. And on the top left corner of your left top lump, we're going to fold that pattern piece C down, right sides together with the pattern piece B. Again, these notches should end up perfectly. If you're using squares here, then it's just going to be a square lined up with the left side of your rectangle. And then let's pin these together. Go ahead and put that to the side. Now grab your right top bump of your heart and then the right top triangle, which is your pattern piece C, and lay those right sides together on the top right side and pin together. Okay, so now I'm going to take my 3 units to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew along these pinned edges at a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. My thread today is an Aurifil 50 weight, and I'm using a universal 70-10 needle. Now typically when I press this, I like to press the seam behind the darker side, so I would press it like this. However, for this block specifically, I do like to press the seam behind the triangles. So I'm just going to press the back real quick. And then I'll press that triangle over so that the seam is behind it. And don't like tug on it. You just want to finger press this nice and lightly. Grab my iron and press down that seam. And then I can flip this over and then just give it a press from the back. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my top units. I'm just going to press the seam behind this little triangle, just like this. And then I'll also just give it a press on the back. Okay, so now I can just put this back together. So don't forget, these little triangles go towards the top outer corners. And then I just have that middle triangle that's going to go here. And then my other D unit on the bottom right. So let's first pin this last D unit down here to the unsewn edge on the bottom of our heart. Again, if you have the pattern pieces, the notches should all line up together. Okay, we can set that to the side. Now grab one of your top heart pieces and then grab that center piece. And on the edge that doesn't have any fabric on it, take that center unit with the triangle pointing down and flip this right sides together. So in this case, your center triangle, which is pattern piece E, the tip of it should be pointing towards the left if you're attaching it to the right top bump of your heart. And then just line up again the top corners. Now, if you're using rectangles here, it's just going to be the E rectangle, right sides together going down, so perpendicular to your top rectangle right here. And remember, this should be on the side where there is nothing else. You have your triangle over here on the top right, nothing is over here. Let's just pin these together. Now let's take these 2 units to the sewing machine and sew along these pinned edges at a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, now we can just press this. So I'm going to press that D unit the same way I did on the other side. So the seam will go behind the D triangle. And make sure you press it on the back as well. And now we'll just press. I'm going to press behind that E unit. You can press behind whichever side is easier for you. But since my E fabric is a little bit thinner, it's easier for me to press behind it. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to make this harder than it needs to be. Okay, rebuild the block. You should have something just like this. Your bottom piece of your block is now done, so you can just set that to the side. So now you should have one little lump that still has to be connected. So on the opposite edge of your E unit, we're just going to lay them like we want them finished and then fold it down just like that. So now the point of your triangle for your E block should be pointing to the right if we're working on the left hump. If you're working on the right hump, it should be pointing towards the left. Remember, this is perpendicular to this top rectangle up here. Okay, and then let's just go sew along this pinned edge at a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. Here we go. And this time I'm going to press the seam behind this other black piece right here because it's easier. It's just there are less bumps here. It's going to be easier for me to press. So I'm just going to fold it back and finger press it first. And then press along the edge. And fold it over and press behind. So here you go. You should see your heart is taking shape. Now we're just going to take this top strip and then line it up the way we want it in the end. Fold it down right sides together. And then pin along this top edge here. I do find that my top strip here is a little bit wider than this bottom strip. That's just because with the seam allowance, you know, I did a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance, so it's a little bit of a small seam allowance. It's a little bit longer. That's totally fine. Okay, now let's take this to the sewing machine and sew along this pinned edge at a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. And now for this last seam, I do like to press it behind the main panel because there are less seams here, right? If I pressed it behind this one, I'd have to fold up all these seams. So it's just easier to press it on the side where there are less seams. So I'm gonna press it like that, flip up my bottom panel, press with my fingers, and then press with the iron. There we go. Now if you'd like, you can grab your starch. So as always, I use my best press and just do a couple light spritzes on the back of your block. And then just press your iron all over it. And that just helps kind of push those seams down and gets it as flat as possible. Now you can grab your template or your 10.5 inch by 10.5 inch ruler. Center it over your design. And if it's a little on the big side, go ahead and trim it down. With all these bias edges and scant 1/4 inch seam allowances, sometimes this ends up a little bit big. If it's a little small, that's okay too. Well, what do you think? That was quick, right? It is a really quick and easy block, and it's so pretty. It's so pretty. I know a lot of you guys got a little feisty with me back in October because I didn't give you a pumpkin block, and I do apologize for that. I will remember that for next time. So I decided to try to make it up to you. We got a heart block for February. This is I love this fabric. I use this like, what is that? Metallic design. This is all from Rifle Paper Company. If you can find some, I highly encourage you to get some. Also, look how cute this is. It's just so sweet. So I love this block. Like I said, make it scrappy if you can. I encourage you to have at least one block that's scrappy. And like I said, it'd be really cool if you use scraps from your other blocks for at least one of these heart blocks, because it's, you know, it's wrapping up our quilt journey. It's the end. It's the last blocks, guys. This is it. We're done with our blocks. So if you want to go ahead and try one of these ones too, go ahead and give it a try. It's a fun block. It's really cool, but it is quite a bit of work, and it's hard to kind of stick with the pattern, which you don't need to. You just need it to end up as a square. So thank you so much for sewing with me today. If you're going to use these blocks and kind of go your own way and you have your own plan, thank you for participating in the OklaRoots Block Party. It has meant the world to me. If you're going to continue making your quilt with me, stay tuned because we will have another video coming out very shortly showing you how to piece all of these blocks together with sashing to create your quilt top. Following that, we will show you how to put it all together, bind it, quilt it, all the good stuff. If you share your quilt on social media, please make sure you use the hashtag OklaRoots Block Party. Also give me a tag. I am at OklaRoots over on Facebook and Instagram. I would love to see your finished design. If you want to start a new quilt journey with me, I will be starting the Cotton Cut Spring Mystery Quilt Along in just a few days. So if you want to participate in that, I'll have some information down below. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sincerely, for being a part of my life. I don't think I could have got through these last 12 months without you guys. I really don't. I think a lot of us have become part of a community we didn't know we needed, but oh my goodness, did we need that community over this last year. Thank you, sincerely. Have a good day. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Get out there and make something, guys.